Cholesterol is an important nutrient in your body. It gets a bad reputation. A lot of people think of cholesterol as clogging your arteries, but it's only bad if you get too much. You couldn't live without cholesterol. You have to have it to stay alive. A few examples of things cholesterol does in your body. It's part of your cell membrane. So remember, the membrane is made of phospholipids, but the cholesterol is in there mixed in with the phospholipids to help stabilize it. So if it were just the phospholipids on their own, the membrane would be really runny, and the cholesterol kind of firms it up and stabilizes the membrane. Remember back in chapter 6 when we learned about the skin makes vitamin D? And it's because it converts cholesterol to vitamin D. So if you didn't have any cholesterol, there'd be nothing for your skin to convert to vitamin D, and you would become deficient in vitamin D. And if you think back to chapter 17, cholesterol is what all of your steroid hormones are made from. So for example, the sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, the adrenal cortex hormones, and one that we've talked about a few times this semester is aldosterone. There's several adrenal cortex hormones. Aldosterone's the one we've covered. So those are some of the reasons why you need cholesterol in your body. Your liver is in charge of cholesterol. So your liver distributes cholesterol out to your body. It's kind of the organ that's in charge of passing out the cholesterol to all the other parts of your body. It also collects cholesterol back from the body. And it does this to maintain a balance. So your liver keeps you at your set point for how much cholesterol your body should have. So you have a genetic set point. And your liver keeps you at your set point. By passing out cholesterol and taking it back. Your liver can also make cholesterol. So if your diet doesn't have enough cholesterol in it, that's okay. Your liver can make cholesterol for you. And your liver is the organ that can get rid of cholesterol from your body. Okay, then a note about the nature of cholesterol. Cholesterol is a lipid. And we know that lipids do not like water. Lipids are hydrophobic. So cholesterol is not going to mix with water. But your blood is mostly water. So whenever cholesterol is traveling in your blood, it has to be packaged in a protein. And your liver makes these packages for the cholesterol. Now we're going to talk about density. If something is low density, it will float in water. If something is high density, it will sink in water. So density is how tightly packed the molecules are. So when we talk about the density of something, we're talking about how tightly packed the molecules are. Higher density means that the molecules are more tightly packed. Lipids are low density. Think about when you mix oil and water, the oil floats on top. Proteins are high density. So this density is how we name the packages of cholesterol. Let's start looking at the picture now and labeling some things in here. So this is a liver cell. Okay, all the blue and green things with the yellow in the middle, those are the packages of cholesterol. We're going to start off, if you look at this one, it's a yellow dot with a thin blue line around it. So let's come down here and redraw that so we can talk about it. So we have this yellow dot, and I'm using orange because yellow doesn't show up very well when I write in that. And it has this thin blue line around it. The name of this one is VLDL, which stands for very low density lipoprotein. The blue line is the protein package. And the yellow dot is the cholesterol and some other lipids. They're kind of mixed in there together. So remember, lipids are low density, protein is high density. This VLDL is mostly low density lipid. It only has a thin protein coat. So since it's mostly low density lipid with just a little bit of high density protein, it's classified as a very low density. Let's look at our next one. If you look here, this one is an LDL. It's that same thin protein coat, but only half the lipid. So we have that same thin protein coat. But now it's only partially filled with lipid. So when you look at the ratio of lipid to protein, there's a little less lipid now. So that's why we dropped the very low density. Now it's just low density because there's still more lipid than protein. But not as much lipid. So that's why we drop the very. There's one more to look at, and that's the green one. The green one is HDL. And notice in one of them it's empty, and the other one it has a little bit of cholesterol in it. Either way, it's still called HDL. And if you look at this, the green is the protein coat. Notice how it's a really thick protein coat compared to that blue thin protein coat. So the HDL is a really thick protein coat. With just a little drop of lipid in the middle. So now that you have mostly protein and just a little bit of lipid, this is more of the high density. So you have more high density protein than you do low density lipid. So this is high density lipoprotein. Means that green is all your protein. Okay, so now that we know the parts, let's start talking about what they do. So we're going to go up to our picture here and we're going to go through the story of what's happening. So we're going to start with the low densities. So here's going to be step one. The liver packages some lipids into an VLDL. So here is triglyceride, here is cholesterol. So this one is cholesterol, this one is triglyceride. So step one here is we package cholesterol and triglyceride in the protein. And this is VLDL. And this is happening in the liver cell. Then here is step two. The liver sends that VLDL to the blood. Okay, then step three is here. Notice this is adipose tissue. the triglyceride gets dropped off at the adipose. Then it returns to the blood as LDL. So this is when we drop that V for very, because it dropped off some of the lipid in the adipose. Now that's why it's only half full of lipid instead of all the way full. Then here is step 5. The LDL is taken into a cell by endocytosis. And this could be any cell of the body. So this cell, it could be any cell because they need it for their membrane. It could be a skin cell that will use the cholesterol to make vitamin D. It could be an ovary cell that will use it to make estrogen. It could be a testes cell that will use it to make testosterone. It could be the adrenal cortex that will use it to make aldosterone or another adrenal cortex hormone. This is not a complete list. There's lots of other uses of cholesterol. This is just to give you a few examples of what's going to happen with that cholesterol. So that's the process of distributing cholesterol out to the body. So LDLs are what take cholesterol out to the body. So these two in our blue here are what deliver cholesterol out to your body parts. Okay, now let's look at what the HDL does. So we start off, here is step 1. In step 1, your liver makes an empty HDL. So notice there's no cholesterol there in it, no yellow dot. Then here's step 2. You send that empty HDL into the blood. Then step 3, it picks up cholesterol from a body part. Then here is step 4. It comes back to the liver. So a full HDL returns to the liver. So that's how your liver gets cholesterol back from the body, is in the HDL. And when people are measuring cholesterol, having it checked to see their risk of heart disease and so on, they tend to refer to LDL as the lousy cholesterol. That's how people remember it. And HDL is the good cholesterol. You can have different ratios of these. So if you get your cholesterol checked, they can check your ratio of HDL to LDL. And if you have a high LDL and a low HDL, that means you're sending out more cholesterol than you're getting back. And so you have this buildup of cholesterol out in the body. And when you get that buildup of cholesterol, that's when it can start to clog your arteries. Okay, one last thing to talk about now, and that's how you actually get cholesterol out of the body. So in some cases, it's going to exit with its product. For example, your cells are always dying and falling off, right? We've talked about dust as your dead skin cells, and they all have cholesterol in their cell membrane. So there's just going to be like normal losses as cells die. When you make hormones out of cholesterol, hormones end up being lost in your urine. So you're going to have like hormone losses from that were made from cholesterol. So there's just kind of the using it. Then there's also how you can really, if your liver wants to get rid of cholesterol, the main way you get rid of cholesterol is when your liver puts it in bile. And then, as you know from chapter 26, bile goes to your small intestine. And it emulsifies the fats so that you can digest them. Then your nutrients are absorbed into your blood and your lymph. During this absorption process, 90% of the cholesterol in the bile is absorbed with the nutrients. But 10% is not. That other 10% remains in the intestine and then leaves the body with the feces. So that's how you can get rid of cholesterol you don't want. Just put it in the bile, send it to the intestine, but then 90% you'll get back, but 10% you can get rid of in the feces. So there's some basics of cholesterol. There's a lot more if you study more deeply about cholesterol, but this is just kind of an overview of the main